Hey, happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the I-5 Corridors Traffic Report. Tyson Alger here, joined by Justin Myers,
yes,
as always. Tyson. I didn't get much sleep last night, Justin. Did you make it all 18 innings?
I did make it all 18 innings last night. And then ultimately got the sports version of you just saw a picture of your ex-girlfriend and they're thriving. That's what happened. Watching that home run last night.
Because of Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
For a second, I was trying to make the connection of, like, are the Dodgers and the Braves, like, that big of rivals?
No.
I mean, like, maybe back in the 90s.
No, but Freddie Freeman was a lifetime Brave 3 years ago. I remember when he hit the home run for the Braves to win the World Series and saying, there it is, lifetime Brave, never let him leave. Sure enough, he left, and since then, he's only hit two of the biggest home runs since Kirk Gibson in Dodger baseball history. Because he's hit two walk-off home runs in a World Series since helping the Braves win a World Series in a time when I thought he was going to be like Chipper Jones, like he was going to be a Brave for life. He'll go into the Hall as a Brave. Now I don't know even if that's going to happen. And so to me, it was like the sports version of getting on Instagram, knowing that you shouldn't be searching, and turning out, your ex is thriving. They're doing great.
If it helps, one, I don't like the teeth. Two, and this is like way in the weeds for like baseball nerds, but Freddie Freeman to me doesn't look appealing at the plate. I don't like his stance. His body, like, his legs are about 3/4 of the height of the rest of his body.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
For it. I got
absolutely...
nothing. I mean, I was kind of going through the same thing last night too, because like it's 18 innings, it's a 6-hour game. I probably watched about 16 of the innings of that game, and this is 2 weeks after I watched that 16 innings Mariners game, and to be 2 weeks later watching Game 3 of the most historic World Series game of all time between two teams, and one of those teams took 7 games to beat. It wasn't like even a hate watch. It was just kind of I'm still feeling this loss.
I mean, it just...
Or watch. Sorry.
We talked about it last... I think, was it last week when you had to, like, talk it out?
What is time?
What really? Is time? Yeah. Exactly. Time is a flat circle, right? Yeah. Where we question, like, why? Like, why do we do this? Like, why do we keep believing that one day it's all going to be great? Because hope is a wonderful thing. Perhaps the best of things.
The best thing about that game last night too is, and I'm sure like everyone like went through this thought process from like inning 12 on, of going, I'm not actually really enjoying this all that much, but like I can't. If this thing keeps going, I can't say that I didn't finich, right?
It's interesting that I'm going to drop a poker reference, and I thought we were going to be talking about this with another topic in the Pacific Northwest, but
we'll get to that.
But I believe the term is called pot committed.
Uh-huh.
Like, you've watched 15 innings, you have to see how it ends. Like you are pot committed. Like, you've watched 4 seasons of a TV show that should have been canceled 2 seasons before that, but you're like, I have to see how it ends. Hangover 3, like I know it's not going to be good, but I just have to see how it ends. That's how I felt at about
a Hangover.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I felt by about the 12th.
Yeah,
it's like, well, I have to see how it ends. Like, you can't just turn it off at this point.
The best part of that, and not that this umpire's zone was all that tight to begin with, but by like inning 13, anything within like a foot of the top of the zone, he's just like, ah!
Yeah, it was like,
I'm missing Melrose. I got to get home and watch my programs.
Exactly. You better get the bat off your shoulder.
Yeah. So that's the World Series. Do you want to? We have 2.
Mm-hmm.
Angles that we can go here, Justin.
Yeah.
We had a football game on Saturday where the Oregon Ducks beat Wisconsin as expected, and that's about all that went expected in that game. And then we have how does Law and Order begin? These are the headlines ripped from the Portland Trail Blazers.
The justice system is made up of two parts: the police who
I knew I had the guy to do this.
The detectives who investigate the crimes, and then the attorneys that prosecute them.
Dun-dun.
These are their stories. Boom, boom.
Boom,
I
boom,
butchered it, I'm
boom,
sure,
boom,
but
boom, boom,
yeah.
boom, boom.
I think we start with Oregon football.
Yeah.
So this is my thought on Oregon football.
What do you think Chauncey had over on that one?
I don't think he bet games where he didn't know. So this was my exact thought late third quarter. Can
I guess what your thought might
Sure.
be? Run the effing football.
That was part of it. But about late third quarter, this was my thought as to what was going on at Autzen Stadium, which I know wrote about it on Lookout. It was just weird. It was just weird. I used to work in an office. You used to work in an office. We are 4 days from Halloween, right? Everybody in their office right now has somebody that loves Halloween. And we'll show up, whether it's on Halloween or when the office has designated the Halloween day.
Right.
And we'll show up in costume.
From Tuesday, from 3:15 to 3:45, there will be treats and coffee upstairs in the conference room.
Exactly.
You are allowed to throw on a appropriate costume.
And so I was never a dress up and go to work kind of guy, but every office I've ever worked in had 2 or 3 people that loved Halloween, and they dressed up and they showed up to Halloween, and it was fun for about half an hour.
Right.
Then it was time to go to work. But they wanted to continue doing all the fun and wanted to, oh no, we're going to do a haunted house, and then we're going to do a parade, and then we're going to vote on who had the spookiest costume, and then we're going to...
I think we have a field day scheduled for the afternoon.
Where it's like, at some point, like, no, it's over. It's time to go to work. That is about how I felt in the middle of the third quarter with all the Grateful Dead stuff. All right? I'm in the minority. Everybody
by the way, we made some noise being in the minority in the Autzen press box on Saturday. Had multiple people like, "Oh, so I hear this isn't your thing." Like it got around that like we weren't in.
And look, they had their fun. It seemed online it was a rousing success.
They sold some shirts.
A lot of shirts. And all in all, it's what Oregon kind of does best in college football, right? I think Dan Lanning mentioned that after the game. It's like that's the uniqueness of Oregon is that they do these kind of things the best. But as I'm sitting there, and it's still a very tight game, and Dante Moore's got a broken nose, and the walk-on from Sheldon, more on that in a moment, is in the game taking snaps, and I'm looking up at the replay booth, or at the replay screen, and I'm seeing the tie-dye in between where the ball is and what is the first down, and I'm just like, enough, it is time to go to work. Turn it off, and let's go back to normal Autzen, please. And I might get killed for saying this, but I'm going to do it anyways. Then, again, still too close for comfort. Oregon's got the backup quarterback in. It's cold. It's wet. Not the time, Ty Burrell. I love Ty Burrell. I love Modern Family, Phil Dunphy. One of the all-time great characters. But at that moment, I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
I was like, read the room in sync, right? Read the room, Ty Burrell. But all in all, it worked out. But that's about how I felt.
But that was to set up Shout. Were you suggesting don't do Shout or just don't have we're introducing somebody special to
it felt like, all right, so we had a tie-dyed Volkswagen Beetle come out instead of the Harley, right? We did. Well, I know they did the Harley.
It just kind of felt like the Bizarro World game.
Yeah, sort of and just it was like, do we really need to throw more ingredients into this soup? Like now here's Ty Burrell, and it's like, and again, this is me being a bit of a curmudgeon, and I get it, I understand it, but it was like at some point in the hall, at the office, at some point it's time to go to work.
Yeah.
It's time we got to start blocking and running, and it's time to stop goofing around with this hippie stuff. We got to win a Big Ten football game right now. That was where my emotions were. I've since moved on, and I do have things I am curious your thoughts on. But at that point in the game, I was done with the theme night. I was done with the theme, and it was time to get to work.
That's fair. No Ty Burrell. He's. I mean, have you seen him in many things lately? He's probably looking for work, and you're saying no. This. By the way, he was at the game. The Oregon basketball had a men's exhibition Friday night. Ty Burrell was there, and he was sitting at one end of the floor. But also, Julie Bowen, the mom from Modern Family, was at the game as well. I believe her son goes to the University of Oregon. They weren't sitting anywhere close to each other. So for like all Friday and Saturday, I'm frazzled. I think there's been a fissure in fictional TV familydom. Scrolling through Instagram the next day, what is Phil and Claire took a picture together at the football game. So I'm just here to report that things are going okay in the Modern Family household. But I'm kind of with your perspective too, because now that a couple of days have passed from the game, I feel oddly better about it than I did in the moment. But in the moment, especially that first quarter, I sent the tweet out, and I think I stand by it. That was one of the worst, considering the opponent they were playing. That was one of the worst quarters of offensive football I've seen the Oregon Ducks play, when they haven't had a Braxton Burmeister in the game, or like a Jeff Locke. You know, like the Ducks have been shut out in a quarter before, but for them to go onside kick, 3 and out. I mean, it was just by the time that they finally kicked into gear in the second quarter with that 99-yard touchdown drive, until that point, I believe they had 25 total yards in the game, and that it's just that happens. It's football. The weather was bad, whatever, but it was just such a drastic change from a week earlier when they put up 750 yards against Rutgers. And Dan Lanning will point to, well, Wisconsin's got a better defense, and you can look through the stats. They're about league average in that. They're not bad against the run. But it was kind of shocking, especially because the worst offensive play really happened before the rain started falling. Like, it was those first two drives when Dante was healthy that it was just kind of like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah, the weather became a factor at some point, but like that first quarter that you talked about, there was no rain. It was windy.
Yeah.
But there was no rain, and to really look at it. So here's why I wonder, where we actually now have a sample size, right? We've got 8 games. We are 2 months into the season. We are about to hit the home stretch, but we do have a sample size. And against opponents that have the ability to push back, Rutgers is the only game where you can look to the offense and be like, yeah, that's the offense that we thought Oregon was going to have this year.
Right.
Or maybe our expectations, I'll speak for myself. Maybe my expectations went a little bit through the roof because they were putting up big numbers against patsy opponents, right? And then Penn State turned out to maybe not be as Penn State-y as we thought they were. Even looking back at that Northwestern game, you needed a couple of defensive turnovers to kind of get going on offense. And other than the explosion they had at Rutgers, when you face teams with the ability to kind of punch back, this offense has been mediocre at best.
It's you can see like a direct line in the games where Dante Moore receives a lot of pressure. He doesn't play that well. When in perfect conditions, Dante Moore's the best quarterback in the country. He's like an F1 driver that's good at getting pole, and they're good at winning that race, but not great at driving back through the field. There you go. So yeah, like, I mean, it's such a weird season because there's just been so many games this year that you can't take anything from, and I think we're learning that as we further progress into this Big Ten schedule. Like, what you did against Oklahoma State in September doesn't really hold much of a candle right now, but I was discouraged by that, but at the same time, one of the things that I just really wanted to see going into this game, I was like, I would love for them to give Jordan Davidson the ball like 15, 16 times and just see what that big boy does with it.
Yeah.
He did a pretty good job with it. He had another 100-yard game. I think he had 16 rushes, which is the most that any Duck has had all season, which is kind of a crazy stat to throw out there, especially for a team that used to have kind of bell cows back in the day. But yeah, like, other than that, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of a meh game, and it was one of those where you're like, well, at least they got out of it healthy going into the bye, but, Dante Moore's face might look a little bit different in a couple weeks.
Does he, like, speaking of the Halloween theme, does he go with, like the Batman mask? like that Kobe used to wear,
right?
Or like LeBron used to wear, like. Do you go with like the mask underneath? Or
like I feel like they probably have enough stuff left over from like those mummy duck uniforms and photo shoots you could do. Granted, Moore did come into Brock Thomas's press conference after the game to just say, "I love you, Brock," and kind of did the look back, and you did the double take because you weren't expecting to see Dante. He didn't look visibly injured or disfigured or.
Yeah, again. Let me preface. I am not a doctor. I have no medical training. No one should ever take medical advice from me. And I know that obviously HIPAA prevents anybody from talking about anything they don't want to talk about with injuries in football, even though a lot of coaches do it. Apparently it's a HIPAA thing. That being said, I'm guessing it was more concussion caution, Dante Moore not going back in the game, than maybe a broken nose
or bloody
nose or whatever it was, because I watched the replay afterwards, and he got popped pretty good right in the face. And when you're a quarterback and you kind of get that that pop to the head, it's, I'm sure, an abundance of caution.
And that's kind of what Lanning said too. He more or less said that, like, if the game, they thought that Moore might have been able to come back in, but I think because they got that touchdown on the first drive with Brock into the game and then coming back and scoring the big boy touchdown later, I think they felt okay getting away with it at this point.
So that brings me to the next thing that I would like to discuss, Tyson, because again, unlike you, I do not cover this team on a day-to-day basis. And all of a sudden, other than the one time I think against Penn State where it looked like Dante Moore might be really injured, but then he wasn't with the knee, the only other times Oregon backups have come into the game have been in blowouts. It's been in mop-up time. Correct. This is the first time where we have actually seen who the real backup quarterback was. It provided for an interesting back and forth after the game.
A little bit. Got to watch the film.
Let me just say, as an Oregon fan, I don't give a shit who the backup quarterback is, whether they are 4-star or walk-on. If they can make the throws and make the plays, I am all for it. So far, it looks like the kid went 4 for 4. They scored 2 touchdowns. They got the win. But it wasn't, I think, an interesting, like, for most Oregon fans, an interesting, like, so that is our backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Because we haven't, I don't know if it was maybe just an assumption that one of the other highly recruited guys.
Well, I mean, back in August when we're talking about the quarterback race, I'm saying, putting that in air quotes, but the conversation was Moore and Novosad, but don't forget Luke Moga. And the occasional throw in like Brock Thomas's name into a press conference just kind of felt like, a little lip service for somebody who's working hard and from Eugene and doing everything the right way. Apparently he's doing it the right way, the best out of everybody. I was in the same camp as you, because after the Rutgers game, that's when this first kind of like showed its head. I didn't know if that was really Oregon's backup or if this was just a hey, we're killing them. When else is Brock Thomas going to be able to play for the Ducks sort of situation? Let's get him in. Let's reward him a little bit. Maybe he was the hardest worker during practice that week, but the other guys surely are a step ahead of him in terms of talent. We've seen what Luke Moga can do with his legs. Novosad's still a bit of I don't really know what Austin Novosad looks like as a quarterback, other than they continually say he's getting better. It's like 2.5 years now. But the fact that they came out with him in this game, I was pretty shocked. And there's part of me that starts trying to like rationalize of like, what game are they playing with this? Is it we still think we have this game in the bag and we don't want to show film on Moga or Novosad just to like keep that in-house in case either of them have to play in a big situation, or maybe we don't want to put tape so then other schools can see and then attack them in a transfer portal or whatever. But like ultimately, and like this was something that I still had to like be kicking myself with during that game. It was a 1-score football game going into the fourth. Like that was a close game. Like that's not a game that you throw in the walk-on just to like honor him, to like, give him an attaboy and say like, have a good time. Like that in those conditions, that was an important part of the game, and that's who they went to, Brock Thomas. And yeah, Lanning got a little bit testy with it in the post game when just kind of continually like asked about. He'll say what Thomas is doing well, but he won't say why has differentiated him at all from the other guys. And then he's really quick to, when he praises Thomas, to throw in, but the other guys are doing well too. So there's constantly some sort of politics going on here, or like a kind of cushioning of whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting situation, because if, you know, this is what the backup quarterback room looks like, Thomas was good in that game. I don't think Thomas is a Dante Moore level or a go win you a national championship level quarterback. So where does that leave Oregon's quarterback room post Dante Moore? Or is this just a situation where you go, yeah, at this point it looks like Moore probably needs another year of seasoning, and if it's bad after that, they can go transfer portal.
So here's what's interesting.
And by the way, no disrespect at all to Brock Thomas.
No.
The kid played his ass off. It was awesome to see him get 2 touchdown drives there. The fat man touchdown was probably my favorite play of the season. 3 pumps.
3-pump rule.
Yeah.
All right. So my brain instantly went to like all the, not conspiracy theories, but there's a lot of factors involved.
Herbert 2.0 coming in hot.
Well, there's always a lot of factors when you start dealing with backup quarterbacks in college football 2025. You hit on a couple of them, right? Transfer portal's a real thing. Eligibility, Tyson, I don't even know what it is anymore. I used to know. It used to be you play one play, that burns a red shirt. Then it moved to 4 games. You could play in 4 games. And then if you played in more than 4, that would burn a red shirt. And then there was a medical red shirt. Now it's just like, if you just ask pretty please, they just give you another year of eligibility, right?
It's like that final exam that you get to take until you pass it. And you're just like, you know what, I'm going to stick around.
So like I have to now dismiss, because usually you'd be like, oh, maybe so-and-so is a better quarterback, but they want to keep his red shirt. But, like, you hit it on the head. You're at home against a conference opponent up 7-0.
You lose this game, you're out of the playoffs.
Your season's over.
Yeah.
Season is on the line.
You can have 2 losses going into the playoff. You can't have 2 losses to Penn State and Wisconsin at home.
Indiana, Wisconsin,
whatever. Same
Understood.
Same conference.
But you're right. Like,
yeah.
You lose at home to Wisconsin, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. It's over. We're done. Get ready for the Holiday Bowl, right? Like, that's San Diego's nice, but it's not as nice as a playoff appearance. So you don't, at that point, worry about eligibility, transfer portal, cat and mouse. It is literally who is next on the depth chart. To me, it's as clear as it can be. This kid's just better than the other guys. For whatever reason, he picked up the offense better, clicks with certain guys better. For whatever reason, that's the backup quarterback.
It didn't look too big for him out there. Like you can pick apart maybe some of the throws. I mean, one of those completions was very lucky.
Yes.
Into the chest of the receiver, out of the chest, into the arms of the DB, out of that and into the hands of a waiting DeCorian Moore. But yeah, 4 for 4, 2 touchdown drives.
And so I don't know if it's a worry that these so-called bigger recruits are not progressing as maybe people want to admit, or if it's just maybe the kid from Sheldon's got something. I mean, like, Baker Mayfields of the world do exist. Now, I'm not saying that Brock Thomas is the next Baker Mayfield. I mean, I kind of said that, didn't I? But if you can play, you can play.
Also, we are in an era of college football, too, where, like, walk-ons aren't the same as they were 15, 20 years ago now, too. Because, one, you can pay like, if you're not giving a kid a scholarship, he's still getting NIL money. They've expanded the roster. Mm-hmm. So it's just basically, like, you can hoard better quality players at just about every position. Like, a school of Oregon's caliber doesn't need to bring on, like, Joe Myers, who came out to tryouts in the second week of the season because he saw a couple flyers and seems like a good locker room guy. But
do you remember so again, this is something that I have to remind myself, because I try not to get too bogged down in the recruiting stuff, but like every once in a while you're like, it was like the Ty Thompson of it all. It was like, oh, it's a 5-star, the highest recruit Oregon's ever had. He never saw significant time on the field. Do you know that kid, Jaden Rashada, who was apparently promised $13 million to go to Florida, and it was a bogus deal? So he decommits from Florida, goes to Arizona State, loses the job there, went to Georgia, never got the job, ended up at Sacramento State.
Yeah.
Sacramento State played your beloved Montana Grizzlies.
Who won that game, Justin?
The Montana Grizzlies beat the dog out of them after, I believe, the school president came out talking a bunch of trash.
Yeah, he said we're looking forward to playing the Montana Pandas this week or something along those lines.
And do you know how many yards Jaden Rashada had in that game?
Tell me.
0 zilch none naughtics. He's the backup for Sacramento State. He's backup for Sacramento State. So like,
hey, they're trying to move up to FBS, baby. You know they.
And you know what? Maybe they'll get there, but he's not even starting there. So again, it's one of those. I understand why it's of interest, but at the end of the day, it's pretty clear. Like those circumstances in that game, Lanning's not playing games. For some reason, the walk-on from Sheldon is just better than these multi-starred recruits.
I mean, like, I kind of made the Herbert joke there, but it's like the same instance of when Dakota Prukop wasn't the guy. They still had I believe they still had Terry Wilson. I believe they still had Travis Johnson, or he might have transferred at that point. But, like, they still had some pretty high-leveled 4-star guys behind them. And it was such a shock that Herbert came out of nowhere to basically go from 4th string to starter. And you have the Sheldon connection. But Herbert and Thomas look different than each other.
Yes.
But I think ultimately this would be a much larger talking point had Oregon like lost that game, obviously. But like ultimately, it comes back to what I've repeated a couple times. You increased your lead with the backup quarterback in the game, in a game that things weren't going well before he came in. I think a lot of that was Oregon changing its mentality and just kind of pounding on in the running game a little bit there. But like, that's how football works. Sometimes you have to make adjustments. The pass is not working, you go to the run, and like he did his job. He got Oregon a win. We live to worry about this another week.
So I'm gonna throw one more thing out there, because I was very lucky in my radio career to work with Brock Heward when I was in Seattle, and Brock Heward was a career backup in the NFL, and I remember talking to him about the backup role, because everybody has always said like best job in all of sports, right? The backup quarterback. And he was like, no, it's the worst job in all of sports. It's like, because you don't get to be yourself. The offense is designed around the starting quarterback. As a backup quarterback, your job is to be the best at mimicking the starting quarterback, because they took all week to put in a game plan that you cannot change in a matter of minutes in between a series. So again, the fact that Brock Thomas is the backup, it doesn't even necessarily mean he's the best of the non-Dante Moore quarterbacks. He
just might be the most trusted to handle a situation like that.
Exactly. He might be the guy who comprehends the offense that is designed right now currently around Dante Moore. And so I think, to me, that's also a thing that fans, even myself for years, like never grasped about what the backup quarterback role is. It's not just to be the second best quarterback. It is who can jump in an offense that is not designed for them. It's designed for the starter and keep the ship from sinking. And he clearly did.
Speaking of sinking ship.
Yeah.
Did you say dry out there?
I did. Yeah. Well, okay. The walk
because the view from the press box, you could see the rain coming in horizontally. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like, boy, even the people like underneath the roof have got to be getting pelted here. So
I stayed very dry.
Okay.
My seats are very, very good in terms of protection from the elements.
Gotta protect Bilotti.
100%. I was looking for old coach. Didn't see him.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was pretty cold.
Yeah, it's Wisconsin too. You know, it's not gonna be a close game.
But like, because I'm under the cover, but I'm far enough back to where, because like there were some people under the cover where it did not matter because the wind had the rain coming in sideways. So for the game, I was good. The walk back to the car, not fun. Not fun at all. And I'm sure anybody that's listening who was actually at the game and was sitting in the stands are probably cursing at whatever device they are consuming this product. But yeah, I had a bad 40-minute walk back to the car. That's about it.
You know, in the Autzen press box where like Greg Walker will chime in with like 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And he's like, attention media, just a reminder that with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, you can go down to the field and blah, blah, blah. Not a single soul got up. Everyone's like, nope, not doing this one. But still had to do like the long, like behind Autzen walk over to the HDC and then back and into the car. I was pretty soaked by the end of it. But I couldn't say anything either because I was texting with our photographer who was in the elements the entire game.
Yeah, that's.
But they're kind of sick like that though. But I was talking to him before the game and I was like, hope you stay dry. He's like, I hope it's hell. Like he wanted just like the images for that. And I was like, man, you got to learn not to put work in front of comfort.
I remember one time I was in morning radio in Eugene, and it was one of the handful of times where it was about to snow, and in Eugene, like they do in Portland, anytime it snows, they take a reporter, put them at some intersection.
This is what drivers are having to deal with, Mike.
And so I remember commenting on like, we don't have to do this. And then the reporter was actually listening, and then she called in to the radio show to tell me, like, no, kind of like your photographer, like, we love this. This is what we live for. This, to be able to go out in our storm and report live is like their Super Bowl. So yeah, there's that. Not for me, but there's a wiring. Also, I noticed on the internet where there's too much negativity, but I saw on the internet, Tyson, some criticism to the Oregon student section for leaving that game early.
Dude, they get a pass on this one.
I thought the same. And again, everybody who was criticizing them online, I'm fairly certain, was not doing it from two sections over
the stadium.
They were
the
doing
Wi-Fi
it.
is not that good. Those tweets wouldn't have come through until 4 hours later.
I saw people saying they should have their tickets taken away. I saw people claiming those are the soft California kids who don't know about Pacific Northwest weather.
Might be true, but this Alaskan was in the climate controlled press box, and I was very cold.
It was an all-timer bad weather game at Autzen. It really was. It was an all-timer.
It was the worst one I've been to. As we talked about a couple weeks ago, I missed the Cal deluge in 2013, so I don't have that one as a baseline. There might have been one game in Seattle, I want to say maybe in 2017 or 18, where it was pretty damn wet, but I don't think it was anything compared to this because like the wind was whipping with this too.
So,
you were talking about the people who sat under the roof but were still getting it from the sides. Have you ever stayed at a hotel and you go to get in the shower and you haven't really given it a good look because it's like showers are muscle memory, and then you turn it on and it's like one of those ones that sprays out of the side? That's the image that I was getting from everybody in the stands there.
Yeah, it was. So I think it was Washington 2019 is the game you were thinking of, because I was there. I was at Husky Stadium, not in the press box. This was worse. I was there in 2013. Cal got wet in the press box.
That was earlier in the season though too, so it was probably warmer.
Was
right?
not as cold.
Oh, yeah. The
only game that I have been to that was, I think, a worse weather game, and obviously I didn't go to the toilet bowl. There's a handful. I'm sure there's games back in the 70s that some people were like, you don't even know. Fair. 2001 Civil War was the worst weather game because it was rain. It was in December, so it was cold. It hailed for a little bit. It was the worst. That was the worst weather game at Autzen Stadium that I've ever been to. This one's top five.
Would your
top five.
Would your opinion on this one change at all if the game was at all more palpable to watch. Because I'm thinking of, I remember a pretty bad weather Civil War. It was the one where the Ducks came out. It was the year after Oregon State made the Rain Jackets.
Yeah, 2017.
2017. So whichever one of those was like the Rain Jackets game. But it was the year after that. It was rainy too. The Ducks won that one. And I remember just being like, yeah, weather sucked, but whatever. You know, there's a lot of things to
They scored like it was 69-10 or something like that.
I mean, this one's 7-0 at halftime.
And you're right. It didn't help that there were like no fireworks.
Yeah.
At all. And they kept playing Grateful Dead music.
The drive home was a top 5 of my drive homes in my career doing this. That
just
was
white knuckle, atmospheric river.
I had the life raft manned. Had my floaties on. It's the worst when you're just driving straight and you're a little bit white knuckled and you're just going like, don't like the hydroplaning's coming. Like I'm much more comfortable driving in snow and ice still to this day than rain. Not a fan.
Yeah, that hydroplane. Yeah, that'll get you. That'll wake you right up.
Speaking of waking up, on Thursday I woke up to the Portland Trailblazers coach being arrested.
Yeah, by the feds.
That's called the transition, folks. We're professionals. Yeah, I mean, like it's week-old news at this point, but I can't imagine in the Trailblazers communications and marketing department as they're going about ways of like, you know, how can we market this season? They're not going to be great. They're a little bit better. Dame's out. What can really spice up this year? FBI.
Yeah. I saw the...
Is that a morning where you're upset that you're not in morning radio, or are you just like, I'm glad I don't have to like have a complete handle on this as it's breaking?
I am, to be perfectly honest, and again, I will say this. When I worked for Rip City Radio, no one ever said, you can't talk about this. No one ever censored me. So, but you're on Rip City Radio.
It's the implication.
The team is on. That, like, you know they're listening. Yeah. I don't envy the dance that Chad Doing probably had to do.
Right.
Because you can't assume. You have to actually have journalistic integrity, which I've never had.
Get a podcast.
Yeah. So part of me was like, oh boy, that would have been something.
Yeah.
Like breaking news, 7:00. Chauncey Billups just been indicted on 20 counts of a rigged poker game with X-ray tables, which I didn't know was a thing. Special contact lenses to see marked cards.
Those are like those lenses that got banned in baseball in the 2000s because everyone with those red things.
Yeah. And a card and so that happened. Then it turned out there might have been some tipping off of whether or not Dame was going to be playing or not, and this was I think from 3 years ago. So I have lots of thoughts. I'm going to start with this, Tyson. And this is an honest question. I don't know the answer to this. I'm curious your opinion on this. We've talked about on this podcast multiple times how prevalent sports gambling is. That it seems like every rule we have to make now is whether it's replay, whether it's injury reports, it all seems to come down to gambling. These leagues are in bed with the gamblers. So on one hand, people would say this is an example of gambling being too prevalent in sports. You have players actively taking themselves out of games so that their friends can bet the under and make a payday. You have a coach allegedly tipping off people who is going to be playing and who is not going to be playing. If gambling wasn't so prevalent, this wouldn't happen. The other side of it is, how long did it take us to finally get an answer on Pete Rose? Like 2 decades?
Right.
Like he went for 15 years, like, nope, because he was doing betting slips with bookies all under the... This investigation, I think, took 4 years. But whenever Terry Rozier's under is bet for $100,000, some AI thing pops up and flags it. So the other hand is like, no, it's because gambling is now on the up and up that they were able to catch these guys. I don't know which opinion is right, because I do think there is too much gambling in sports. It's an annoyance to me. I don't want to hear about your bet. I don't want to hear
your parlay that didn't hit.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about it. I definitely don't want to hear about it during the broadcast. But then on the other hand, I can see some merit to people saying like, no, it's because you're gambling legally that they're able to flag these things and know exactly whose account and match it to, as opposed to trying to infiltrate some bookie.
Yeah, I'm mixed on that, because I do see that argument of the reason that we're even talking about this today is because the systems that were in place were able to flag this and put it out in front and center, and that's regulation doing its job, which it probably is. I think probably at that level that, Chauncey, if you're involved in the mafia, like there were probably ways of Rozier, there were probably ways of gambling like that before this all became legal. Those aren't really the people that I'm worried about, because like I think that's an outlier case. I don't think every NBA coach is running illegal, illicit gambling games with the mafia. But I do think when you do talk about the gambling, where they kind of lose the this is what it's built for argument is just, as you said, it's absolutely everywhere. And there's not a single podcast that you can listen to, probably other than ours, that doesn't have like a gambling ad in it. You can't watch a live game without like odds popping up, or even, they'll throw win probability, which is just trying to whitewash the fact that they're trying to give you like what the live odds are in that too. And so like it's so much more at the forefront of the conversation for everybody. And so I'm not thinking about star players. I'm thinking about mid-level to low-level players or college players, because guess what? You can't here in Oregon, but everywhere else in the country, you can bet on college things. And there's a lot more just consciousness to it. And so maybe you do have a low-level college player who finds himself in a financial bind, and maybe he didn't know about that gambling could be an outlet for this 10 years ago, because not all his friends are on the apps and saying like, hey, just take a dive. Like, I think the access that the world has to these athletes to try to induce them to do something one way or the other that's illegal for gambling is like this is the tip of the iceberg. Like this might be like one of the sexier cases, but I think the amount of this level of like pointing or tipping off that somebody's injured, or maybe you come out of the game in the first quarter or this or that, I think that is going to be, I think it's incredibly prevalent at the lower levels where people aren't having an eye on it quite as much, because you can bet every college game. There's hundreds of basketball games a week, especially now that it's coming in. Like, good luck trying to monitor that as well as you would like an NBA where there's 32 teams and people are already pretty conditioned to be kind of keeping an eye out on how this is working.
Here's what's interesting to me, because I'm going to bring up Pete Rose again. Pete Rose was the prominent sports talk topic almost my entire career. You had a slow day. Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? Like, that was, phone lines light up. Everybody had an opinion. But it always came like, well, he only bet on his team to win. If you believe that.
It was pretty dirty of Jim Gray to ask him about that at the honor. Remember that?
It was all, of course I remember that. It was the Braves World Series. And it was always like, well, he only bet on his team to win. And then like, well, but a non-bet is a losing bet. And how much bullpen would he use on a game he had money on and all that? The integrity of the game, Tyson. The integrity of the game. Nobody gave a shit that the Blazers were losing on purpose without putting money on it. It only became an investigation and an indictable thing when there was apparently gambling linked to it. So I agree with you. It's tip of the iceberg in terms of, are you able to unring that bell, right? Can you unspread that peanut butter? As the folks down in Winston used to say. I had a friend say, you can't unspread that peanut butter.
For the red banana.
That was a good joke.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
It was an homage. Yeah. But I just find it kind of laughable at the NBA. Are you really going to stand on both legs, Adam Silver, and talk about the integrity of the game right now? They were losing on purpose for draft picks.
Right.
Like teams are tanking every single year. They are pulling stars, and don't even get me started on like who's injured and how injured are they.
They don't give a shit about the integrity of the game. It's fun to say that, but if this turns into a massive investigation on the NBA side, the only reason they're going to do this is so that the gambling companies are happy and that the gambling companies believe that there's integrity in the league. They're just worried about their bottom dollar and how that connects with all this right now. Like I don't think Adam Silver's just going like, oh man, like. People are going to be wondering if that Blazers loss is a real, is it like.
So, steroids marred an era of baseball, and really, I think, put a stain on not just Bud Selig as a commissioner, but like on the league as a whole for a long, long time.
I think that still resonates. Like Cal Raleigh probably would have had a cool nickname this year, hitting 61 home runs if.
Big Dumper's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Yes, it would have been and then even like with Cal Raleigh, you don't think somebody on there was like, 60 home runs out of the blue? I wonder what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Brazilian butt lift.
It might have been that. Who knows? You don't get a dumper like that just by doing squats.
Yeah, you think that thing's real?
Is this going to be the NBA's like steroids? Or is this or is it because sports gambling is so beneficial to so many, like steroids in baseball didn't help average Joe sports fan unless you really like Mark McGwire or Barry Bonds. Sports gambling it's an industry. It's an industry in daylight to where like you said, podcasts, TV shows, there's a whole ecosystem around it, but it's surprising to me that the NBA isn't taking a little bit more of a hit.
There is zero chance that any real investigative work from the people you see on TV will do anything to go far enough into this for there to be any like substantial change out of it. Because you talked about baseball and the sports writers got pissed about that, right? Because it's the sanctity of the game and should we ban these guys from the Hall of Fame? It also helped that Balco wasn't paying the sports writers.
Yeah, that's true.
If you go on FanDuel or DraftKings, you'll see like Rachel Nichols' picks. You'll see you see all these people who like even Pablo Torre, who's been doing some of the best investigative work in sports journalism right now. They're on like the DraftKings network. You think Pablo is going to sing? Like it's just everyone's been bought off. Not only from like the people who benefit from it, but from the people who like would raise the flags on it, like us. Like we haven't been bought off yet. Offers out there, but I don't know. It's just I don't. It's such a confluence of conflicts of interests that and the peanut butter is so far gone. That I don't know. I also think that we are in such a scandal era where the Pete Rose thing was huge, but like you weren't having like 10 Pete Rose type level of news is happening every day, which it feels like we do now because of just Twitter and the internet and the climate.
So I'm interested now to see kind of where like the Blazers go from here. Because it's an interesting time.
It's the Thiago Splitter era, baby.
We have started the Thiago Splitter era, got it off the ground with a win. Yeah. That always helps. But it's going to be fascinating because you have a new owner. You're presumably going to hire a new coach. I'm curious.
You got to feel weird if you're Cronin.
That's what I was just going to say. I'm curious Joe Cronin's role in kind of all. Now he just got an extension. But as we've learned in college football, those don't really matter.
It seems like he's built a solid core of a roster that is showing potential and growth. And, like, you can see that, like, hey, with a couple pieces, maybe there would be something here.
Yeah. But it's just – it's surreal. Yeah. it's just surreal. Like to see like
I had
game one, tough loss, had him all the way up until the end. That Anthony Edwards, what?
I got a text.
He died on 30 counts.
I woke up that morning and I had a text from our buddy Jeff, and he was traveling, so he was ahead of. It was just, and all it said was like, it was, I can't wait to see how Portland wakes up to this one or something like that. And then I had another one from somebody else like that, and now you're struggling to get the app open to like see what it is, and your head's going like, oh God, like there's only like a few type of things that you get texts like this from. Didn't have my proverbial money on FBI arresting Chauncey Billups.
Also, not tip of the cap, but like, I guess respect. You know the meme of the kid with Derek Jeter with like the respect.
With the two.
FBI really timed this one right.
Yeah.
We're really going in 6 a.m. after game one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done it a month ago.
Yeah.
Nope. Game one. Here. Then opening night. Here's ESPN. And then, like you said, then first take on ESPN with a ESPN bet promo running underneath it.
Which disappeared in the middle of the broadcast.
Yeah, it's sitting there talking about it.
What an embarrassing time for the organization. And, I will say, as I just did, it did seem like they were taking some steps forward with, like, they finally sold the thing. It's no longer Jody's, and the roster has some, at least, character to it. And then like, could you imagine if this happened when the Blazers were good? Because, like, this was a pretty large story altogether as it was, but I think there was like a little bit of like it's just Portland. This will be like a 2-day story for us here on First Take. If they were good, or if this happened to be insert whoever other team's coach here, it actually feels like it should have been bigger than it is.
While we're talking about coaches, we're going to transition back to college football a little bit.
I would like to say right now, I am not leaving for the LSU job.
Okay.
I'm happy here at the corridor. The water is damn wet in Portland.
I have no comments on whether or not I'm going to LSU. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting.
Right now, I'm really happy where I'm at.
Right now, as we sit right here, I am the co-host of the Traffic Report on the I-5 Quarter. In the future, I don't know, but right here, I am.
In the words of the great Willie Taggart, why wouldn't I be?
Well, why wouldn't I? So, it is those awkward press conferences, though, are a-coming because LSU, Florida, Penn State, Arkansas, UCLA, to name a few, all currently have openings right now. Oregon State
I don't think Dan goes for that one. But,
I don't think so either. But I want to start with the Beavs, though, because like the Edwards run thing keeps heating up. Like, is it gonna?
Go Tigers?
Are we gonna
go Beavs?
Go Beavs?
Go Beavs?
Are we gonna get a Coach O to Corvallis?
Well,
like, is it gonna happen?
If I'm Oregon, if I'm Oregon State, I go hell yeah, because it seems like every day they're getting some sort of worse headline or some other worse rumor coming. Like, at some point, you just need to go like, let's just go for fun and chaos. Like, there's a good chance that really blows up in our face, but like, hey, we don't have a face right now to begin with. So, I don't know if he would be a good coach. He might be a guy who's like, I'm trying to, because I did see that his buyout from LSU is ending. I think his payments are ending this year. So, homeboy's looking for a paycheck probably to write out those AARP years. But I mean, who would be better unless Oregon State has an eye on, I think we said this last week, just some FCS up and comer guy, some hot shot coordinator but from what we've seen from Oregon State, like, what gives you the confidence to think that they're going to be the ones that go and find and identify that guy?
I just want to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Like, because the whole thing on Brian Kelly and LSU that we're hearing now, which we all kind of knew when they hired, is like, that's not a fit, right?
He wanted to work 50 hours a week and golf a little bit. You got to work 80 hours a week.
And also like he within like 12 hours he developed
that nice drawl.
He created a southern accent with his family.
Like molasses was pouring out of my mouth.
Savannah. And it was like
bye week.
It is a bye week.
Yeah.
It was really cold on Saturday, but like it was clear. Like, all right, maybe he's still going to be able to get the guys, but it's just like that's not going to fit. Ed Orgeron in Corvallis doesn't fit either, but I want to watch that circus, and that's not a put down, Beaver fans. Sometimes the circus is really fun.
Sometimes there's football doesn't have it as much with basketball, where I think in college basketball the coaches are as much of a draw like in game as the, like, you want to go see Mike Krzyzewski, like a Coach K or a Bruce Arena or yada yada. I think in football, like obviously the coach is a massive figurehead for the program and everything, but there's few like. I just want to go see that dude today. I want to see what he looks like. I think he's one of those types of people.
Now, on the other side, this is a nitpicky question, but I think a fair question. It is clear Dan Lanning has laid it out in plain English. He's not leaving Oregon. He has said it multiple times to where you're not even seeing his name linked to any of these jobs. If you do, it's usually off of a fan Reddit thread, dream coaches, but nobody in their right mind believes that Dan Lanning is leaving Eugene for LSU, for Penn State, or for Florida. Because of, obviously, the grass is that better? Is it better to know that your coach isn't going anywhere, or is it better to have the others flirt and then the coach say no? Because I don't think Dan Lanning's agent's getting a lot of calls.
Interesting.
Because he has laid it out like,
I'm not doing this.
I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not, like he said, and again, I'm not a father, but the one reason why you would tend to massively believe him is he says, I promised my wife and kids we're not leaving. They've moved to 6 different states. I said, this one is it. As long as they will have us, we are staying here. It'd be really tough to break that promise, I would imagine, for Baton Rouge or Gainesville. And I don't know if either of those in a playoff era, in an NIL era, are necessarily better jobs right now. Maybe more on that next week. But it worked to his favor, I believe, in recruiting when everybody believed he was taking the Alabama job and then said no.
I think that can only work once, and or once to that level.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're turning down, again, air quotes, you're turning down Alabama. Like nothing else really comes close to that.
Yes.
I will say what is pretty jarring for me just in this conversation where we list off Florida and LSU and Penn State. These are all jobs that 3 years ago, if they all opened up in the middle of the season, this fan base would be freaking the fuck out right now.
100%.
Because initially, like the first big job that came open while Lanning was at Oregon was the Auburn job. Auburn is not an elite level SEC team. They have shown that they can win. And like they can peak at certain times, but they are not one of the SEC's best, but they are in the SEC, and it's getting back down there into that region and in the state and yada 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 yada. Lanning turns that one down, right? What's the next one that comes? Was it Texas?
I think it was.
Was there like a Texas A&M or Texas Tech? I don't know.
Whenever Texas A&M fired Jimbo Fisher,
right? Texas A&M, hey, they're competing in there too,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not the Texas school, and they're not a name brand around there really. Like there were all of these kind of like concessions to those ones, but LSU, if we were asking at the time, we would have told you LSU was a top 5 job in the country. if you asked Florida, you go like, okay, they've had their ups and downs, but like with that talent in that state and that alumni base and the size, like that's probably a top 5. Like we're used to doing the what's the better job thing, and a lot of times Oregon would get undersold just because they'd like be like Oregon versus Iowa, like what's the better? It's like, well, probably Oregon, but you guys aren't ready to say. Everyone at this point is pretty much ready to say Oregon is one of the best jobs in the country, but it's so crazy how quickly that happened because, again, an LSU opening is way different than a Auburn opening. LSU has so much more money they can throw at. They have a lot more recent proof of concept of it working down there. Like that's one of the largest brands in college football with one of the coolest stadium environments of college football. There's maybe 3 coaches in the country who would turn down an opportunity for whatever money LSU is going to throw at them. But I'm not thinking twice about it for landing. I'm not losing any sleep. And I think, like, yeah, maybe you lose a little bit of that news cycle. But at some point, if you have that news cycle happening every year for 5 or 6 years, like, I think then you kind of lose a little bit of your credibility. It's kind of a little bit with the Dame Lillard who would constantly, for no reason at all, go out of his way to be like, I'm going to be a Blazer for life. And then he wasn't. And there were organizational reasons for that as well. But I think Dame kind of locked himself into a bit of a pickle there by just like saying it all the time. So I don't know. The only way that I would ever be worried at this point of Dan leaving for anything is if stuff starts to go wrong with the entire department at Oregon. And it was justifiable for him because I don't think there's a college job that he could leave for that anybody would go, I get it. Yeah. NFL, yes. But like college, like, yeah, like LSU would be the most threatening job that could come open for a candidate or for an Oregon coach who might be a candidate. And I don't think it's an issue. And that's just crazy.
It is crazy because when you put it all like on paper in the span that Lanning not only got the Oregon job, but then became at one point the hottest coach in the country in terms of like, we want that guy. Penn State, LSU, Florida, Texas A&M, Alabama. Who else is in there? And Auburn, UCLA, which again, I think UCLA is the biggest trap job in the country. It's just you're never going to win there. But it's still LA. It's still Big Ten. Somebody's going to be lured by that temptress. I mean, so you think about like those are massive jobs.
Yeah.
Those are massive jobs in the last 3 years. But also, as we're now learning in this new era of college football, and money never really mattered anyways, but boy, people are really hooking coaches real fast.
Do you think there is any true I'm that much better than everyone else level coaches in college football right now? I asked that because like coming into the season, it seemed like Lanning was the hottest up and coming coach in America. I think the last couple of weeks, people have been like, like maybe we'll pump the brakes a little bit and see what happens. You have the firing at LSU. You have James Franklin. It's all these people who I think going into the season would have said maybe not Kelly, but with Franklin, you go like that's a very good B plus, maybe A minus level coach, but. Like, Georgia isn't even as, like, unassailable as they were. Is this just the transfer portal and NIL bringing parity to everything? Or are we just in a time where there's a bit of a shuffling post-Saban and you're kind of waiting to see?
Yeah, this is like NBA when Michael Jordan left, right? Like, because Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time. And it was super easy. Like, yep, well, there's number one. And then Saban left, and it's been kind of some ebbs and flows. And even within that, right, there was a point where we probably would have said Dabo Swinney in that conversation. There was a point where Kirby Smart would have been like the answer.
Lincoln Riley was right in the hot way 100%. Too.
What's funny is that Ohio State just won the national championship. I think they are head and shoulders better than everybody else at this point in time. Still got a whole month of regular season, but nobody wants to play Ohio State right now. And like Ryan Day is just Something about him.
I bet you could survey the fan base of every team in like the top 30, and every single one of them would go like, "Our coach is better than Ryan Day."
Yeah, he's got a national championship, and his team's clearly the best team in the country right now.
Consistently like top ranked recruiting classes. Yeah, but just let the beard go gray.
Yeah. What's going to be very interesting, because this will be like the coaching carousel of all coaching carousels. Like, I hope you like your time, Indiana, because I don't know how much longer that's going to last.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if any shine gets put on Kenny Dillingham. Mm-hmm. But he's at an alma mater. And
yeah, but I also think Kenny's realistic and knows that he probably can't win a national championship at Arizona State. He's proven they can make it to the playoff. I don't think that they can take that leap from there to suddenly being like one of those. And
I know his name's not very hot right now, especially after that first quarter.
Will Stein.
But Will Stein, like, I wonder where his name pops up. Not in the first round, but it's that second wave.
I have an interview tomorrow with Will Stein and his mom. Yeah.
You should ask him in front of his mom.
Or ask her.
Do you envision your son being a head coach one day?
What was your opinion on the pass-to-run ratio in the first quarter, Mrs. Stein?
I'm looking forward to reading that.
Yeah, a little profile coming out on, I think, Friday. I was kind of really hoping it would be like they'd score 100 points and then you do the
that would really be nice if you'd done that.
Sometimes the journalism gods don't look down favorably every time. But how are you feeling today?
All right.
Are you?
I got one thing to bring up.
Are you happy or are you a little annoyed? Is anything grinding your gears?
A lot of emotion. So, as I've talked about on this podcast multiple times, I am a country music fan. Mm-hmm. There is, I also am. I'm the last of the Gen X, and I worked my entire professional life up until this year in radio. I like things being programmed for me. I like turning on the radio and having the song picked for me. Playlists are cool. Even if I put a playlist together, I put it on shuffle because I don't want to know what's coming next. That's just the way I like taking in music. So there's a playlist that I listen to that is updated every week with new country songs. And I will flip it on that playlist. And one day my wife texts me and she goes, "Do not listen to this song. Don't do it." So there's a country music artist. His name is Hardy. I don't know if you've heard of Hardy. But he wrote a song called Dog Years about his dog that is no longer with us.
I've heard.
And so when somebody tells you, like, when I was a kid and we would go to Pizza Hut and you would get that pan pizza and they'd be like, "Don't touch that pan, it's hot." I always touch the pan. Touch the pan every time. How hot are they? Ooh, yeah, they weren't lying. It's hot. So you tell me not to listen to the song. I'm like, I'm going to have to listen to the song. Full on ugly crying.
Yeah.
Like it. So.
What is it with country art? Because like there's a Chris Stapleton one that's like that too.
Yeah, it's called Maggie's Song. That one. Funny story about that one. When I did lose my dog last January, idle hands is the devil's playground, right? I would go into my garage and I started making cutting boards and coasters. You have one.
You made one. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Because I had to do something. And so I would go in there.
So wait, hold on. So are you saying if I want another one, we're going to have to?
No. Unfortunately, to get another one, I probably have to become unemployed again as well.
Go show up to the shelter and we'll handle this one.
So I'm in my garage. I was in my garage, which I turned into a wood shop at that time because I lost my job and my dog within a month and a half of one another, and so I needed some things to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
You got a great cutting board out of it. A lot of people got some coasters. I got some candle, a lot of stuff. Anyways, but I was in there and I'm like, I just turned on a playlist and I'm like, I'm sawing. With the power tools. I can't get to my phone.
Oh, no.
And the Dead Dog song comes on. So now I'm crying. So I don't know if karma is a real thing or not. but you know, Hardy put out the song that just made every dude cry, and he is a massive Mississippi State Bulldog fan, and just happened to be standing on the sideline when Texas. So I don't know if that's karma at work for writing a beautiful song, but just made everybody ugly cry. If like
that's been my Reels feed, or like my Reels or TikTok feed lately, is just like there's this trend where people will post like a young video of their dog, and there's like sad music to it, and then it transitions into them just being like, you know, the gray face, and it's like, no. Then I look at my dog, and he's just licking his ass, like 3 years old, like loving life. It's like he's fine, like he's.
So yeah, that was just maybe don't write.
Yeah, no more dog songs.
Yeah,
like
let's just give it a rest for a minute.
There's not going to be any better love or dog songs than the ones that there are right now. Let's just leave the genre be. No cat songs.
Cat's in the Cradle, but that's more about your dad not playing catch with you. It's not really about the cat.
What else you got?
I think that's it.
Well, we'll have that catch next week, folks. Make sure to check out my Will Stein profile later this week at lookouteugene-springfield.com. Please give us a rating and a review on whatever service you are listening to. And if you are watching us on YouTube, I never wanted to be one of those guys, but like hit that subscribe button.
Smash that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe and give us a comment.
We are growing. We have we're just about to cross the 100 subscriber plateau on YouTube. So
Could be you.
Mr. Beast,
coming for you.
We're coming for you.
Momentum.
I mean, if it worked for him, it could work for us.
100%.
Make it work for you. High Five Corridor. See you next week.